think I've ever asked this, but what's your favorite Star Wars movie out of any of them? Yo, I've been waiting for you to ask me this for a while. My favorite, honestly, it's kind of Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Are you serious? So, out of every Star Wars movie, you go through, you look at Return of the Jedi, you look at Revenge of the Sith, you look at Empire Strikes Back, A New Hope, and you choose Attack of the Clones? Why? This is usually the thing I have to talk about. It's the love story. I love the interaction between Padme and Anakin, and we get this super cool character arc, and we get Padme and Anakin in the Geonosis scene, where not only do we get the factory battle, but we also get the Geonosis arena, and so many more awesome scenes, plus Obi-Wan fighting a literal praying mantis, and then they fight Count Dooku. How do you not love that? You raised actually pretty good points. It is a pretty good movie if you really boil it down to those things. Okay, yeah, you convinced me. Hey, everybody comes down to it eventually. Welcome back to ASMR Scotty. Today we're going to be taking a look at 50 Star Wars Episode 2 facts, where one of them is false. And if you would like to guess which one it is along the way, feel free to. I will tell you at the very end of the video which fact was false and a correction to that fact. With that out of the way, let's get right into it. Fact 1. The seismic charges used by Jango Fett were designed as a unique sound event. When they detonate, the sound briefly drops into silence before expanding outward in a deep, resonant wave. The moment feels like space itself reacting. Fact 2. Hayden Christensen was cast as Anakin Skywalker after a wide search for a performer who could portray both vulnerability and emerging darkness. Lucas needed someone who could feel emotionally open, yet capable of becoming Darth Vader. The role required a quiet instability beneath the surface. Fact 3. Attack of the Clones became the first major blockbuster shot entirely in digital format. Instead of traditional celluloid running through the camera, the image was captured electronically, turning the set into a testing ground for a new century of filmmaking. Fact 4. The final scene, showing the clone army assembling for war, serves as a quiet but ominous ending. Rows of identical storm soldiers preparing under gray skies. The galaxy is no longer drifting. It is marching towards war. Fact number 5. Count Dooku was designed as a different kind of Sith figure. Less feral than Darth Maul, more composed and ideological. His threat comes from belief rather than rage. He feels like someone who has chosen his path deliberately. Fact 6. The Coruscant speeder chase was built through a dense layering of live-action plates, miniature work, and digital city landscapes. Traffic lanes, glowing windows, and vertical depth were all constructed piece by piece. The city feels endless because it was assembled in layers. The film's depiction of a republic slowly turning into an empire has been widely discussed as a key narrative bridge in the saga. Rather than sudden conquest, it shows power shifting gradually through approval and fear. Control arrives quietly. Fact 8. The rain on Camino was created using a combination of practical water effects in digital enhancements. Droplets needed to interact correctly with armor, skin, and surfaces. Every raindrop had to feel heavy and real. Fact 9. Tamora Morrison was cast as Jango Fett, the generic template for the clone army. His physical presence and voice became the foundation for thousands of identical soldiers. One man becomes an army. Fact 10. Yoda's duel with Dooku was one of the first times the character was shown in full speed combat. His small size allowed for rapid, spinning movement that would not have been possible with a puppet. Stillness transforms into velocity. Just a quick check-in here. Do you think we've come across the fact yet? Perhaps yes. Perhaps not. Let's continue. The droid factory sequence was constructed almost entirely through digital environments, conveyor belts, molten metal, and moving machinery were layered into continuous flow. The scene feels like being inside a machine that never stops. Fact 11, by the way, that one. Fact 12. Padme's costumes in Episode 2 shifted dramatically from royal formality to softer, more personal designs. Flowing fabric, lighter colors, and exposed movement reflect her transition from queen to senator to individual. The clothing breathes more freely. Fact 13. More than anything, Attack of the Clones stands as a turning point, not just in the story, but in how films are made. It pushed digital cinema forward while deepening the saga's darker themes. You can feel both a war beginning and an industry changing at the same time. Fact 14. The clone troopers in the Geonosis battle were almost entirely digital. Their armor reflects light consistently across massive formations, helping unify them visually. The armor looks precise, clean, and endless. Fact 15. George Lucas embraced digital filming partly because it allowed him to see results instantly on set. Instead of waiting for film dailies, he could evaluate scenes immediately on high-res monitors. The delay between creation and feedback nearly disappeared. Fact 16. Christopher Lee was cast as Count Dooku, bringing classical gravitas to the role. His presence feels measured, aristocratic, and dangerous without needing intensity. He enters the story like a shadow with a title. Fact 17. The first large-scale deployment of the clone army was staged to feel restrained rather than overwhelming. Smaller groupings of soldiers and loosely timed movements create a sense of measured force. Control becomes reassuring rather than intimidating. Fact 18. Lucasfilm describes Attack of the Clones as helping carry cinema into the digital age. The film was not only continuing a story, it was also testing a new way for large movies to be made, moved, edited, and projected. Fact 19. The cloning facility interiors were designed with smooth, reflective surfaces and soft lighting. The environment feels sterile and controlled like a laboratory, scaled up to the size of a civilization. Life is manufactured here, not grown. Fact 20. The black leather outfit worn by Anakin in parts of the film reflects a darker visual direction for the character. The material absorbs light rather than reflecting it. He begins to look less like a Jedi and more like something forming in the shadows. Quick note here. Do you believe you know if or which fact was false in there, or has it not shown up yet? That's a fair assumption. Are you ready to continue? Fact 21. The Jedi entering the Geonosis arena were filmed in groups and then expanded digitally. Individual performances were multiplied to create a larger presence. A handful of actors became an entire order. Fact 22. The introduction of the Clone Army became one of the most important developments in Star Wars canon. It provided the foundation for future stories, including animated series and expanded media. The army became a narrative engine. Fact 23. Lightsaber combat in Episode 2 was choreographed to be faster and more acrobatic than previous films. Fighters move with speed, flips, and continuous motion. The duels feel like energy rather than weight. Fact 24. The Kaminoans were designed with elongated necks, smooth skin, and controlled movement. Their appearance feels clinical and detached, matching their role in creating the clone army. They seem less like people and more like precise instruments. Fact 25. ILM produced a massive number of visual effects shots for the film, far exceeding earlier entries in the saga. Digital characters, environments, and vehicles dominate much of the runtime. The film feels assembled as much as it feels filmed. Fact 26. Ben Burtt created the seismic charge sound using layered audio elements designed to break expectations. Instead of a typical explosion, it produces a vacuum-like pause followed by a shock wave. Silence becomes part of the sound. Fact 27. Christensen studied the emotional arc of Anakin carefully, focusing on internal conflict rather than external aggression. Much of his performance is built on restraint, small shifts in tone, posture, and gaze. The anger is often held just beneath the skin. Lucasfilm partnered with Sony and Panavision to create the prototype digital camera system used for the film. The project was not just a cinema or a camera choice. It required engineers, technicians, cinematographers, and post-production specialists to build a working path where one barely existed. Fact 29. Attack of the Clones was released on May 16, 2002, Continuing the prequel trilogy 3 years after The Phantom Menace, the gap allowed anticipation to rebuild, though expectations had shifted after mixed reactions to Episode 1. The return felt quieter, but still massive. Fact 30. Dooku's curved hilt lightsaber was designed to reflect his refined combat style. The weapon suggests precision and control rather than brute force. Even the tool feels aristocratic. Has the fact appeared, or do you believe it has yet to pass? Okay. We will continue then. Fact 31. Coruscant itself was expanded far beyond its Episode 1 appearance, with thousands of digitally created buildings stretching the distance. Light patterns, movement, and traffic were added to create the illusion of constant activity. The city never seems to sleep. Fact 32. Over time, some viewers began to reassess the film more positively, like the Skit, especially in its exploration of political collapse and the rise of authoritarian control. Themes that once felt distant became more recognizable. Context changed perception. Fact 33. Kamino's ocean environment was designed to feel endless, with no visible land beyond the platforms. The horizon dissolves into gray water and sky, creating a sense of isolation. The world feels suspended in weather. Fact 34. Jango Fett was designed as a more grounded and practical counterpart to Boba Fett. His armor feels used, functional, and worn by experience. He looks like someone who has survived many contracts. Fact 35. Yoda in Episode 2 was fully realized as a digital character during action sequences, allowing him to move with speed and agility not possible with a puppet. His combat style transformed from a quiet teacher into a sudden force of motion. Stillness becomes velocity. Fact 36. Actors performing in the droid factory often interacted with minimal physical set pieces. Many hazards, presses, flames, and mechanical arms were added later. The danger had to be imagined before it was rendered. Fact 37. Some of Padme's wardrobe was designed specifically to support the romantic tone of the film. Fabrics moved gently, catching light and wind in ways that emphasize intimacy rather than ceremony. The environment interacts with the costume. Fact 38. Attack of the Clones earned over 650 million worldwide during its initial theatrical run. While successful, it made less than The Phantom Menace, reflecting changing audience response. Momentum had softened, but not disappeared. Fact 39. The digital cameras used on Episode 2 were designed to capture at 24 frames per second, matching the traditional motion picture frame rate. That detail mattered because the new technology still needed to breathe with the familiar rhythm of cinema. Fact 40. Obi-Wan's relationship with Anakin is written with subtle friction. There is respect, but also impatience and disagreement. Their conversations often feel like a balance between mentorship and quiet frustration. 10 facts remaining. Do you believe the fact that it's false has passed yet? Okay. That's fully possible. Let's finish out here and see which fact truly was false. Fact 41. The Geonosis Arena battle involved a large-scale digital crowd simulation. Thousands of Geonosians were animated to react, move, and observe the combat below. The audience becomes part of the spectacle. The Clone Wars themselves, Fact 42. The Clone Wars themselves, first depicted in this film, were later expanded in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. What begins here grows into one of the franchise's largest story arcs. A single battle becomes a full era. Fact 43. The digital cameras required constant monitoring through cables and external systems, unlike traditional film cameras. Sets became threaded with wires and screens, creating a more technical environment. The filmmaking space began to resemble a control room. Fact 44. Jedi costumes remain simple and functional, but Anakin's version appears slightly more fitted and controlled than others. His appearance subtly separates him from the rest of the Order. Even within uniform, difference appears. Fact 45. Gunships used in the battle were designed to move like heavy military transports rather than sleek starfighters. Their motion feels weighty and deliberate. They do not dart, they arrive. Fact 46. The film became one of the highest grossing releases of 2002. Despite its divided reception, large audiences still return to the Star Wars universe. Curiosity remained a powerful force. Fact 47. The cameras were first of their kind prototypes, with 4 units arriving only days before shooting began. Their serial numbers were 00001 through 00004, making the production feel like it was holding the earliest pieces of new technology. Fact 48. The Tusken Raiders were given more depth in Episode 2, both visually and narratively. Their costumes remained layered and obscuring, while their presence becomes more tied to Anakin's emotional turning point. The unknown becomes personal. Fact 49. The arena creatures, the Reek, Acklay, and Nexu. And the Acklay is the mantis style. The Nexu is the thing with the very sharp teeth, and the Reek is the thing with the horn. But back to what these are. Were animated with distinct physical weight and movement styles. Each creature behaves according to a different logic of motion. The battle becomes a study in contrasting forces. Fact number 50. The film's digital production methods influenced the broader film industry. Many studios began exploring digital cinematography more seriously after its release. The shift towards digital filmmaking accelerated. that is it for the 50 facts. Do you believe you know which fact is false? Alright, well, if you guessed fact 17, you were right. Here is the real version of fact 17. The first large-scale deployment of the clone army was staged to feel overwhelming rather than chaotic. Lines of identical soldiers in synchronized movement creates a sense of controlled force. Order becomes intimidating. That is it for the facts today. Quick look at the fit check we've got going on here. We've got the 20th anniversary hat, as well as the jacket here. So, again, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, please hit that like button. If you really liked it, hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in the next video.